At Dot & Company, we believe that all agencies deserve amazing account managers and that all of those account managers deserve to be supported, encouraged, and loved on. That's why we started CAM Community, a membership only for account managers. And inside, you'll gain access to the exact training we use to train our own client-facing account managers, but also access to all of our SOPs, processes, and live trainings on a variety of topics. If you're an account manager, this is the place you've been waiting for. Learn more at dotandcompany.co/CAM community.
Today on the Happy Clients podcast, we are joined by Jason Swenk, who is the mastermind behind Agency Mastery 360. He's definitely a digital marketing guru. He knows the ins and outs of growing your agency and has equipped hundreds of agencies with the tools to grow and ensure success inside of their agency.
Welcome to the Happy Clients podcast, brought to you by Dot & Company. Whether you're a virtual assistant, an agency owner, or a client-facing account manager, we all deal with clients. Lucky for you, client management is what we do best. Now, let's dig in, chat cam life, and have some fun along the way. Cheers to happy clients.
So welcome so much, Jason.
Yeah, thanks for having me on the show.
So excited to chat today. I think we should dive right in. And this is my favorite question, because I think it's super relevant to agency owners out there, kind of where you've been and how you got here. So I'd love to hear that story, Jason. I'd love to hear about your agency right now and how you got there.
Well, it was all by accident. Like most of us are accidental agency owners. I had one of my friends that looked like Justin Timberlake. And this was in 98 or around 99. And I created a fake band, fake website called In Shit, and it got popular. And I remember I was living with my dad at the time because I just graduated, and he was selling his house, and I was at a desk just designing this website. And someone walked by that was a realtor and said, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Creating a website." They're like, "What's a website?" And that was my first website I sold. And then the In Shit website started getting more popular, and then more people started asking me to design websites. And so that's how I got my start, by doing $500 websites for like marinas, lawyers, you name it, all around my town. And then it just grew over time, and 12 years later, we were working with like Porsche, Lotus Cars, Hitachi, and we were eventually acquired by a really big company. And then, from there, I've kind of fell into this business by accident as well. Like I thought, like most agencies, they think the grass is greener on the other side. And they were like, "Oh, I'm going to do a SaaS product," or "I'm going to go develop an iPhone app." That's kind of my perception. And so I started doing that. And I hated it. And I was just lucky. And, I was just lucky enough at the time that, people were like, "Hey, how'd you grow and build a, 8-figure agency? How'd you sell it? How'd you do this?" And just started helping them out, and kind of fell into this business as well.
I think there's so many wins here, and what maybe is kind of a unique key to your success, Jason, is like, what is your core marketing experience? Do you have 5 million degrees in marketing?
No, not at all. Like,
not at all.
I went to Florida State, and I was going to get a major in marketing, but I had an internship one summer, and all they had me doing was stuffing envelopes. And I was like, "Is this marketing? This sucks." This was like maybe 97. And I literally went to the owner. I said, because I was tired of stuffing envelopes. And I literally went to her. I was like, "Hey, this email thing, like you could email these things out to people and do a distribution list." We didn't have email software back then, but you could put everyone's email addresses there.
Wild.
And I wound up saving them like $250,000 in postage to do this. And she was like, "Oh, you should go into computer science." And so I went into computer science. Oh, and the cool part about that story, I asked her for a reference, and she told me to write my own reference. I was like, "Really? Like, I saved you that much money, and then you make me write your damn reference?" So I had a really bad taste in my mouth for marketing.
And I think that's like a part of this journey that a lot of people, a lot of listeners really resonate with. Like, it's almost the entrepreneur in you that that drove the ship, right? So much more than the marketing and the skills. So you kind of had this vision, definitely ran with it. I would say more than ran with it, whatever that might be. Cut to Agency Mastery 360. And now you have an agency. Who are you helping, Jason? Who's in Agency Mastery 360?
Yeah, so it's all, amazing agency owners that are over the million in revenue mark, that don't have an ego, that really want to figure out the who, right? Who do I need to hire? Who do I need to become in order to, pull my agency up? Because what I find a lot of times is agencies reach a plateau because they've reached a plateau and they haven't figured out how to get rid of some of the challenges. Like, so many people come to me and be like, hey, buy my agency, or I want to sell. And I'm like, if I could get rid of one or two things in your agency, would you still want to sell? And they're like, no. So those are the types of people, that are in the Agency Mastery 360 of, they want to be around other amazing people. What I have been doing, it's coming up on 10 years of doing this. I can't believe it. It's almost a decade.
We won't tell anyone. We won't tell anyone.
Yeah, I know. I'm still young, even though like I shaved my beard a little bit. You can kind of see the gray hair. But I wanted to create a resource I wish I had, because I joined so many different networking groups, masterminds, and I always felt that as me being an agency and in other groups, I felt like I was always the one giving advice because everyone wanted to know how to market. Everyone wanted to know how to use the latest technology. And I just wasn't getting what I needed. And so, with the Agency Mastery, I wanted to create something where this is something I wanted. It wasn't group coaching. It wasn't, just a bunch of people touting how good they are. It's like people going, hey, I had a bad day and this is the challenge I need help with. Or, someone sharing, hey, this is something that really helped me. And this is how you guys can kind of build upon that. That's what I wanted to create.
I think that's so special. And Jason, you talked about the who and kind of the next steps. And I find a lot of agency owners, even the ones we're working with here at Dot & Company, they are sort of on that cusp, I guess, or, they're looking at the next growth step in their life. So of course, you're working with these agencies. I love the information share. That's like my favorite part about Dot & Company. Just having this really strong resource of people is such a great resource for any agency, any probably job out there at all, but having a group of people. But how do you take them to maybe even figuring out the who, but taking them to that next step on their growth?
Yeah, I mean, especially since so many of us are accidental. And so let me kind of tell you a little bit of a story really quick, and then I'll kind of get back to it. So for many years, I didn't have that vision of where we're going. So I didn't know who we wanted to become. I didn't know who we wanted to serve. I didn't know what we wanted to actually do, and let alone the how, right? Because I didn't know all the other stuff. And I remember we were a couple million in revenue at the time, and I was completely miserable. I almost literally quit. My wife one time was like, go get a job, which is to, an agency owner, that's the ultimate failure. And I remember I took an interview with a really large company, and they were asking me, what do you want to do every day? And what don't you never want to do again? I couldn't answer that there. I was just like, I know I don't want to do this agency shit anymore. I was just miserable. And so I went home, and here's the exercise that I think a lot of us can actually do if there's things that you're not happy with in the business. I just started writing down all the things I didn't want to do. And so the exercise I tell a lot of our members and agency owners to do is get a sheet of paper, 8.5 by 11, put your fist on it, draw a circle around it. And then everything outside the circle, I want you to write down all the stuff you don't like: project management, dealing with clients, hiring people, firing people, whatever it is, right? Put all that stuff down. Spend about a half hour doing it. And then inside the circle, after you do this, then you're like, what are the stuff that really gives me energy? What's the stuff I really love? Like, I love the creative process in the first meeting. Second meeting, not so much. So like I would stay in the first meeting, right? I loved adding color on the sales meetings, like right at the end. I loved being the closer, right? I loved, creating content. That's why I've been doing the podcast for 10 years, right? So, what are all the things you love? And then I looked at this and going, oh my God, I can actually do this within the agency. I can say no to the things I don't want to do. I can delegate to the things I don't want to do anymore. I can automate the things that I don't need to be doing, right? And so you can start clearing your calendar of all the stuff that really drains you. And so that's one exercise I feel everyone should really do every year to make sure that they're doing the things. Like Steve Jobs had I remember watching a video. He said, if I wake up multiple times, or like if I have multiple days I wake up and I'm unhappy about the things I'm doing, well, I need to make a change. And that's the exercise that I think can help a lot of us out.
That is so valuable too. I think there's a point probably in a lot of agency owners' careers where they're like, this is too much. It's just too much. I can't. Sometimes, I see this all the time. Agency owners are too in it and can't get out, for sure. They're too in charge of every single thing. Delegation is really hard. Control is a thing. You're the agency owner. This is your baby. You know what I mean? That's such a huge sort of hurdle to get over. And I think the kind of lesson or the takeaway I get from that too is that there's hard days, but like there's also really strong resources and a great system put in place to have less of those sometimes and lean into the best practices, for sure. So that's happening in your agency, the people you work with. What are kind of the top 3 trends that you see from agency owners? What are they coming to you with that they just don't want to do?
Well, the one that you guys do is account management. Right? Like
nobody likes clients.
They don't want to deal with clients. They don't know how, right? Like you go back, that they knew how to do something cool. And, we like starting stuff, but we don't like building upon things. Right. And so like, even when I look at, buying an agency, I have to look at going like, I ask myself really kind of 3 or 4 questions. How do I get more clients? Right. How can I grow and make those clients bigger? That's where you guys come in, right? Like, and the mastery members love you guys. They're like, thank you so much. So you guys keep up the good work. And the other 2 are, how do I avoid losing clients? And how do I avoid the client revenue going down or getting smaller, right? And so a lot of times agencies are coming to me for those of like, how do I grow accounts? How do I get more of those accounts? How can I be more profitable? Like a lot of times we just focus on the top line. Like I remember when I ran the first agency, people would always be like, oh yeah, I got 50 employees and right, like we're 20 million in revenue. I'm like, how are you 50 employees and 20 million? And they would put like media spend because they always thought like top line revenue was everything. And it's not. Like a lot of times I work with agencies and going, look, I don't care if you have a goal to get to 10 million in revenue. I'd rather you getting to 3 million in EBITDA. And then now you're worth a lot more, because I know a lot of $10 million agencies that are not profitable. So that means they're not worth anything right now.
Yeah, agree for sure. But I see that happening, just kind of me being the connector of all these agencies, right, to Dot and Company, and, seeing those sales calls come through and understanding that that's like a huge struggle sometimes for these people. But I think the lesson that I love that you guys are teaching is that there's really responsible, really educated answers out there. And with the right help, the right processes, which I would love to get into more detail on, and we will kind of later in the month here. But what the win is that people are kind of not the island agency that they think they are. There's other people out there. There's people like Jason helping you, deciphering what that next move is, what the growth is. And I think kind of even to that point too, is that clients are the lifeblood of every agency, right? They need to be happy. They need to stick around. Without clients, you probably don't have a successful agency or an agency at all. So knowing that client account management is so necessary and being really good at it is pivotal, crucial in any agency growth. What do you recommend is sort of the next hire? And that's by no means a segue into Must Be Dot and Company. That's not at all, because full transparency, I know what you're going to say, but I'd love to know how you kind of pivot these next moves. Who's the next hire? Who's going to help your team the most?
Yeah, well, it really starts. Too many people think about, I need to hire someone so much bigger. Like, I want to go over a couple of mistakes that I made. So when we were scaling the agency, our core values are being scrappy, being resourceful, right? Having fun, sharing what's working, that kind of stuff. That's always been my core values. And it's important to understand what your core values are, because that's who you need to actually hire. So the mistake I made was, I need to start hiring people from big mega agencies, because then we can become them. They can really teach me. What I realized was, and they're very smart people, there's nothing against them, but it was kind of like Office Space. If you like, where's my stapler? Like, they had so many different steps and they were used to so many resources. They weren't scrappy anymore. They weren't resourceful. So it almost literally made us go under, because I hired all these people that just couldn't do simple tasks. They were used to a huge team. So you got to make sure you don't fall into that trap. The other one is, you have to have kind of self-awareness about who you are and what you're good at and what you suck at. Hire what you suck at, right? Don't try to get better at what you suck at for this part. Hire what you're bad at. And also, too, a really good exercise is looking at your past 2 weeks calendar. Print it out. Then, and this is my friend Dan showed me this. Print it out. And then I want you to look at the calendar and highlight which are the meetings that gave you energy. Highlight that in green. Which are the ones that are like neutral, yellow. Which ones really drained the hell out of you, red. And where's all your time going? And then you want to hire for the small things, because too many of us are doing $10 tasks or $100 tasks. I believe there's 4 or 5 roles an agency owner needs to transform into to be an agency CEO. And those are the things that you need to do. But then obviously hire you guys to do account management.
Perfect. Well, the kind words on Dot do not go unnoticed for sure. I think when you kind of flip the script a little bit and think about the small things you're doing, I think tracking them, we love a document over here, whatever that looks like, that's probably pretty powerful for a lot of agency owners. And usually, even to your earlier point, what's bringing you happiness, what's bringing you that positive energy versus green and red, and what's slapping on the calendar, as they say, they probably line up. And between those two exercises, those two really helpful tidbits, Jason, you can probably get a really good grasp on what you're good at, where you want to spend your time as the agency owner, and see what the next hire is. But I want to know too, Jason, sort of the goal. People are coming to you with a goal in mind. Maybe it is just less agency life, but what is the goal by working at Agency Mastery 3, or working with Agency Mastery 360?
Well, I think it's really there's 3 outcomes that I kind of see for agency owners. The first one everyone thinks is, I want to exit and I want to sell my agency and make $1 gazillion. Right. So we could talk about that.
$1 gazillion. Perfect.
$1 gazillion. Right. You want to go hang out with Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg, or whatever his name is. The other option is, I want to create a lifestyle business. Right. And we'll talk about advantages and disadvantages there. And then the other one is, it's an incubator agency. And not many people are aware of this, but an incubator agency is, you are really good at marketing and creating and really doing well for other brands. And eventually you do want to have a big exit, but you realize with an agency, it might not be the biggest exit that you want. And you really love that agency, where you can create other products and companies within that. Think of like Gary Vaynerchuk. He created so many different companies from VaynerMedia, right? And you can do that. There's gotchas on that too. Like we were one of the first companies in around 2001, we created our own content management system. We created our own email marketing system. We created our own e-commerce store before all this. We didn't make it SaaS, we would install it. And then we were too dumb, because our clients kept coming to us, which we should have treated our clients first. But what if I could go back, if you're creating an incubator agency, make sure you separate those teams out. because then you don't have to decide, us or the client. I still did well, but that would have been a very different story. But on the selling, and actually I talk a lot of people out of selling, and some of my business partners at the other agency where we buy agencies, they get mad at me because I'm like, the perfect agency to buy doesn't rely on the owner to do delivery, doesn't rely on the owner to do sales, doesn't rely on the owner to do marketing, right? Like they have 5 roles, that's it. And so most agencies that come to us, the owner's still in the weeds. And so we show them how to get out of it. So they do have the option to sell one day if they want. But a lot of times I'm like, dude, you're making over $1 million a year. You're working 10 hours a week. Like, you're having fun. What the heck are you going to do afterwards? Like they just get bored. And so I talk them out of it. Because I've always promised myself I would always give them good advice when they're selling, because I always got bad advice when I sold the first agency. So does that help?
Yeah, that helps. I think there are sort of these groups of people for sure. I think, and maybe Jason, you could just speak more to this. I think lifestyle is huge as well, right? Some people start a business and they're by themselves. They're young. You grow older, you evolve, you might have children, some offspring, maybe some puppies, some money in your bank to do some traveling. And I think this lifestyle is huge too, for a lot of agency owners who maybe have been grinding 5-10 years, just grinding, and they need that break and they want that lifestyle. So what's sort of your advice there, Jason? What's the lifestyle sort of hook for these agencies?
Well, the disadvantage with the lifestyle is the business is dependent on the owner. And you're not really building an asset. You just built a job, which is, and there's no right or wrong answer. Like some people want to just have an amazing job and put a little money away, but a lifestyle business will hardly ever be sold later on. So what I see a lot of times is people have had a lifestyle business for 10 years and they've kept it. They're like, oh, I don't want to, like when we first start a business, it's fun, right? You get the energy, right? And then you start hiring more people. And then what happens when you hire more people, it gets more complex. And then and you'll be able to tell which stage in life you're at in your agency if you say this, man, I wish I could go back to when it was fun. So that's going to tell me you're going back to a lifestyle business or you want that. The problem with the lifestyle business is you want to maintain where you're at because you're happy, you're comfortable, there's nothing wrong with that. But what's going to happen is the market keeps growing and it's going to pass you by. When that passes you by, your employees and your team is going to leave. Your team leaves, your clients are going to leave. And then you're left with not much, right? And it could be a 10-year run or whatever it is. But you're not really building an asset. You just built this job. So a lot of times I'm like, just be careful of that, like know that and be fine and have money saved away so you can go do something else. Or you could transition and going, all right, well, I have had this lifestyle for a while. How do I grow it? How do I take it? And that's where the who comes in. Like I told you in the beginning, like, who do you need to hire? Who do you need to become? And most of the time you have to focus on who do I need to become to get to a point where you have the option to sell it one day. You don't have to.
Don't close the door. Yeah,
Yes.
makes a lot of sense. And who's to say you can't have one? And maybe you're to say, Jason, but maybe you start lifestyle. Maybe you're young. This is what you want to do. You can travel when you're old too. I'm thinking I'm a mom. I have kids right now. Like lifestyle is important, but then, then you evolve. People come a little more independent. The industry grows. Different sort of aspects are happening that you need to kind of evolve with too. So it's interesting to think maybe even both are possible, or
they are. And I'm glad you mentioned that because I kind of see you kind of going like, I like the lifestyle. Like you can have a scalable business that suits your lifestyle. Okay.
Right.
So like, for example, I've had many members where they were, one comes to mind where they were around 300,000 when we first started working together. And they were even like about to get a loan from their parents because they could barely make payroll. There were like around 10 people. But we started putting systems together and showing him like, what are the different systems? What do you need to do? How do you become the agency CEO where you can have the lifestyle for you personally, but it's not a lifestyle business. So the agency can keep growing without that person, having to do everything. So you can, like, too many people think if I want to grow a big agency or sell it, I have to work all the time like a Gary Vaynerchuk or an Alex Hermosi. That's their choice. They don't have to work that much if they don't want to. That's their lifestyle. So you can create the perfect lifestyle. So one of the things I tell people to do is create rules. So I'll go over some of my rules. I do not do any meetings on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And every Friday, we always do some epic adventure, climb a mountain, jump out of a plane, fly a plane, whatever it is, right? So we go do something epic to really kind of get your blood boiling. I only have meetings from 9 to 2 from Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Mondays are free to just build things for the business and no meeting distractions. So I create rules that I do not break in order to fit my lifestyle. I only work 20 hours a week. So, and I could even take it back to 10 hours to fit my lifestyle, but the business will keep growing. The only thing I really need to be doing is just creating content, doing podcasts. And so I want everyone to think like, what is the one thing or a couple things that only you can do and do better than anybody else? And I can tell you, it's not sales, delivery, or marketing.
Or client account management.
Yes. Well, I'd count that as delivery.
So I think there's so many wins in this conversation, Jason. It's obvious that you have so much information to share, and we're going to get an opportunity to do that. You and I are going to meet again for a live webinar, but it's obvious that you have a lot of really strong, achievable goals that you're working with different agencies on. And, from rules to the best person in the seat, the who, to even sort of really pinging it back on the agency owner and them understanding what they want and how they're going to get there. It's really valuable. And I think for our audience, the agencies that are linked up with Dot & Company, they're really on that growth. They're really growing. This is the time. So really kind of introducing these tactics, these efforts is just great. Super aligned with what we're doing here at Dot & Company. I know you work with tons of agencies and they have great success as well. So a really exciting webinar coming up from you, Jason. Is there anything else? Any other secrets that are just burning and you want to share with everybody?
I always like to tell people, we get pulled in so many different directions for everything. So if you remember, kind of focus, finish one commitment until success, and you do that for each quarter, each week, each day, you're going to be so much more successful rather than having all the distractions come to you. And this is coming from someone with ADHD. I'm like squirrel, pumpkin, whatever it is, right? I'm all over the place, but I have to constantly remind myself like, all right, finish this and finish the big thing first, not the small little crap tasks. Like finish the big thing first, and then you'll be good.
We're big believers in efficiency here at Dot & Company, and that's also something we live and breathe by. Big things first, tackle them, get them out of the way, check them off the list. Yep. You'll have time for so much more, and your brain will thank you for sure. Jason, this has been a wonderful podcast. I love speaking with you. Can't wait for our upcoming webinar. All the details will be in the description. Where can people find out more about you, Jason, and all of the agency mastery things?
Yeah. If you go to mastery.agency, you can check out the agency mastery. And then if you want to get on our list and make sure we send you all the newest master classes, and we put out 3 pieces of free content for the past 10 years. So go to swenk.it's on the hat, and you can sign up.
You do have the best,
I like simple
the best
URLs,
last name.
Right?
Yeah, perfect. It's right there. It's in the title. I love it. And how can anybody forget Swenk? Just sounds like the perfect content you want to get for sure. Thank you so much, Jason, for being on the Happy Clients podcast today. Of course, this was just the tip of the iceberg. There are so many more details to go over and discuss. Check out Jason's Agency Mastery link below for everything that Jason has to offer, and join us on the webinar October 25th for more details about what Jason's doing, growing agencies, and discovering the 9 crucial pieces you need to grow your agency and take that next step. That's our webinar, October 25th at 12 p.m. Eastern. We hope to see you there. Thanks, Jason.
Cheers to happy clients.